Spring has officially arrived in the garden, and with it comes a wave of new blooms. Some stunning, some sneaky, and some you might not even recognize. Today, we're breaking down the real pros and cons of some of the things I've found in my garden. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. So hello and welcome to Bowtie Life. It is so exciting to be out here in the garden today because we have colors popping up everywhere. And the blooms, of course, this time of year, the blooms are just amazing and they're invigorating. We have had some weather, not a lot. It's been very mild temperatures here in Destin, Florida in the Bowtie Gardens. And we have officially had lows just below 70 degrees. Just below 20 degrees Celsius, and highs around 80, about 26 degrees Celsius, somewhere in that range. Here in Destin, Florida, we're surrounded by large bodies of water. We have the Gulf of Mexico off to our south, we have the Choctawhatchee Bay to the north, and the wind coming across those bodies of water has a tendency to stabilize, to become very similar to each other, the highs and the lows. And so we are just getting into that pattern of not very much change in our daily highs and lows. It's kind of a nice thing about here. It does have challenges. We'll talk about that in another video. I wanted to go over today, primarily during our garden tour of the front and side gardens, some of the blooms that I'm seeing right now, and some of them are very cool. So be sure and stick around and be sure to comment if you see something you like or you don't like, something you've seen, something that scares you, something that doesn't. But we're going to go take a look at the front and side gardens and see what's happening out here today. And of course, if you're an original part of the Bowtie bunch, you might recognize this as the zombie wood chip pile that's still not dead. But you do see something that's brand new over here. Yep, this is a new retaining wall, and I've done tiebacks in here. In fact, if I come up here closer, you can see there's tiebacks that hold this wall back into the soil. I still haven't brought everything forward. I think I actually need one more course of bricks on this. I did put this together with the Liquid Nails Extra Tough edition, and they seem to be holding very good. In fact, if I go over here and give it a little bit of a kick, it's pretty solid. It does jiggle ever so slightly, but the nice thing about liquid nails is it's temporary. We can pop those things apart if we ever have to, and of course what it's holding back is going to be the Okra Bed, and this has been covered with a tarp for a lot of months, and it is not anymore, which for me is very exciting because yes, we are going to be planting okra very, very soon. Now, we come around here to actually the first of the flowers that's in bloom right now. And I showed you this plant last month. It fascinates me. I just discovered things about it that kind of blew my mind, I'll admit. So this little flower right here and this distinctive leaf right here, this is Florida Betany. Also, Stachys floridana in the Latin name. And there's some pros and cons to this that kind of got my attention. And part of it, first thing, of course, it's native to Florida. It grows everywhere. Second of all, it has actually an edible tuber. And of course, it's very pollinator friendly, but it's food friendly too. In fact, you can see over here, I just took my little rake and I dug it a little hole here, came up with 2 of these tubers. And these things are just really fascinating to me. And yes, they're edible. They're very crunchy. They have a very pleasing crunch, kind of a sweet oniony flavor. Very good in a salad, in my opinion. Gives you a nice little texture to a salad. But this grows prolifically out here, and you could easily get a whole bunch of salad additives for your lunches or whatnot from a very small patch of this stuff. And of course, you can see that it's all growing. There's dollarweed in here as well, but it's all growing around this edge of where the tarp was until just recently, and it's growing all in this area back in here. We'll get to that flower in just a few minutes, but it's growing everywhere back in here. It's very exciting, something that is very edible, has a unique flavor, something unique for, like I said, the salad. Now there are cons to the Florida Betany, of course. They are very invasive. They spread underground using that tuber, and of course they are hard to remove. So would you eat it or rip it out? Let us know. Let us know in the comments below. And of course, like every month, we have our pomegranate trees, and look at the flowers coming out on this. It is just downright exciting to see these things coming back and just how beautiful they are. And of course, these pomegranates, it's the punica granatum. I'm trying to get these names right, the Latin names, but these things are of course edible. It's an edible fruit, it's an ornamental flower, and it's heat tolerant, which is great for Florida because we get the heat. It is slow to establish, and it can be messy when the fruit drops, but you know what? It's dropping right into a garden bed, so right here it actually feeds everything. And I think this flower is one of the most fascinating things. This actually is the pomegranate that will develop. This back end will start swelling up, and those little petals are actually the bottom of the pomegranate. And it's amazing, but it will have all those little arils, the little seed balls that's inside the pomegranate that you get the juice from, and they are delicious and of course very healthy. Do you have any of these fruit in your garden? Let us know if you're growing pomegranate trees and if they're producing this early. This is just exciting. So here on the back of the okra patch, we have a new little feature back here, and if you didn't see us making that in the video, go check that video out. I'll try to put a link in the description for this video. A lot of these times when I mention we have links, go down to look at the description, you see a section of index timestamps, and in this timestamp I will put a link to that video with the title, and after you're done watching this you can go watch that next video. We'll talk about this we'll talk about that in just a minute. The little thing here is for our plants that require a little bit drier environment, and down here of course we have our lupines right here, and this thing is the new plant that we've planted. I'm not sure what to do with this. I'm going to be trying these things out in several places in the garden. I'm a little concerned that it's so floppy and that it doesn't get hurt. I do want to draw your attention up to what you see over here. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Oh, if I go like that and you smell, oh my goodness, you will smell the lavender. And this is a win for me. Now I still need to come in here and cut out some dead sticks, but there is all kinds of green growing out on my new lavender plant. I got this, of course, on the black market from someone who didn't know about the ban on people like me that like killing lavender. Now, interestingly enough, this is our rosemary just behind the little lavender hut, and it's looking a little yellow, but now, okay, so rosemary is a bit allelopathic, which means it doesn't normally allow things to grow under it. But look at this Florida Betany. It is growing just fine right up in the middle of this lavender. That is weird. I did not expect that. And so allelopathic means it's got properties that don't let other plants grow under it. Apparently Florida Betany is a little tougher than that. So right over here next to the rosemary, we have also recently discovered this. And it was identified as a beautyberry. Does anybody know anything about beautyberry? American beautyberry. Let me know in the comments. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how I got here, but I am anxious to see what this does this year. Something new for the garden. And from that rosemary on this windy day, we come back here to our brown turkey fig tree that, yep, it's still in a pot. I know, chastise me now, I need reminding. Just keep reminding me to get that thing planted in the ground right here the way it's supposed to. Actually, I have concluded that it needs to come over about a foot. So I'm glad I didn't plant it yet, because that would have been a terrible move. Coming across, we have, of course, one of our very first pots of mint. You'll notice how many mint pots I have out here. Yep, this is one of the punch mint pots that I planted. And yes, that is a sprinkler head for a hose with the label on it, and it is a broken one. So when you saw that, whoever was the one that commented on, did you stick a sprinkler hose down there as a plant tag? Yes, I did. It's broken. It's no good. And of course, we have our seed starting area, which we're going to okay, so yeah, there's carpet over there. What's with the carpet, Bowtie? Any of you Bowtie bunchers, you know that We're ripping up our house. We are doing a remodel and a lot of carpet has come out, but our seed starts look like they are ready to go in the ground. I'm getting them in as fast as I can. Every once in a while they go in. We have down here, we have a, what is that? A poinsettia. Yeah, and it's starting to come out with green leaves. I like poinsettia in the garden. This is our Christmas poinsettia. Just a little tiny thing right here. It's actually a trap plant for some pests like whitefly. I have discovered. I have not seen any backup of that information, but it is something that I have discovered. So I don't have very much of it in there in the garden yet. So we're working on that as well. We never buy very much poinsettia, do we? Okay, so then we come around here to the mums, the chrysanthemum. And of course, if you're familiar with chrysanthemums, now yes, I know this thing isn't blooming, but looky here, looky here. This thing is getting ready to bloom. It's got all kinds of little blooms all over it. You can just look practically anywhere on these and you can see blooms just getting ready to burst out. And of course, chrysanthemums, one of the big pros is the bright blooms that they give. It's a seasonal favorite and it's kind of low growing, and it kind of stays in these pots right here, which is very nice. We're going to start looking at doing something else with these, maybe trying to propagate them and get them growing in various places in the garden. Now, a con here, of course, is they do have a short bloom time and they do need regular pruning, and with my ADHD, that is just not a great thing. Now, the interesting thing about this, depending on what part of the country you're at, you might treat these as an annual. Here in Florida, we treat them as a perennial. These things are 3 years old. Which do you do it? Is it a perennial for you or an annual? Do you have to replant them every year? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Well, of course, one of the next spots I like to go to is just right here next to me is the fig tree. Now, last time we actually saw tiny figs on here, and I'm looking around here and I am seeing nothing. Now, speaking of blooms, did you know that figs are an inverted flower? They actually are the flower. So when this thing has figs on it, that means we're seeing the flower. Well, we don't have it right now. We have to wait till these things grow up a little more, and this thing will start putting out figs. But look how beautiful it is. It is green. The leaves are enormous. It is ready to just bust out everywhere. Isn't that just amazing? I'm so excited about this. Now, here in front of the fig tree is something I promised to show you. No, not sunchokes, though that is what's planted in here. You'll notice these big pots down here that are mostly buried in the ground. This first one right here is like a 100-gallon pot. That next one is a 40, maybe 50-gallon pot. They're enormous. They are buried very deep in the ground. And this is how you contain things like Florida Betany, things that are very invasive. Well, sunchokes are very invasive too, but nothing is coming out of these yet. It is just a little too early. I'll bet you by next month we're going to see leaves popping out of here for the sunchokes, which is always exciting. Sunchokes are, of course, a perfect substitute for potatoes for diabetics because they do not contain starch in them. They have an inulin in them that does not drive the blood sugars up like potatoes do, though they taste exactly like potatoes when you cook them. Also, you can ferment them, but that's another story. We have over here, look at there, the first 2 sunflowers coming in, and I'm very excited about these. Are the Mammoth Russian, and they are planted in. If you didn't see the video on tying this little square knot and how I did this, this is the plant that we did in that video. And look at this. Remember how floppy it was? It was like flopping over, completely flopping over. Here, I'll move over here so you can see it to the right of the screen here. But it's barely not even using this because this is already starting to stiffen up and get strong. This other one over here, of course, was very stiff and strong in the video. But it is exciting to see these things coming up and getting strong. Of course, next to the sunflowers, we have our one remaining artichoke. The artichoke that will not die, and I don't understand. It's going to be a flower here soon. I'm hoping it'll be a real artichoke this time. You might have seen the video, I don't know, it's been almost a year ago since we pulled one thing out of these artichokes, and it was nasty. It was not developed at all. And of course, we're coming around here to the very next thing, the yarrow. And this is something I'm very excited about. There are, of course, a lot of kinds of yarrow. The distillans Achillea Achillea distillans. And these things, I don't know if there are any cons. This one, it gets pretty big. You can see it's kind of growing up and becoming quite a presence of its own. It does not quite choke out the dollarweed down here, but it does choke out everything else, and it gives, number one advantage, home to my lizards. Lizards love to live in those things, and of course the bugs that they eat. These flowers, now these flowers are called an umbel flower, U-M-B-L-E, and these umbel flowers are the kind of things that your ladybugs will want to land on. And good other beneficials like I believe a lacewing also will land on these, and it kind of attracts them to the garden. And we have so many yarrow that are blooming right now and coming back. I'm just very, very excited about seeing these things happen again. We've already had a few cuttings from this for Mrs. Bowtie's desk so that she can have some flowers in her office. Now over here behind the yarrow, we have our first amaryllis that we're going to take a look at. And this one is not the one I really want to bring your attention to. It is kind of suffering down here. I don't treat this very well. I don't pull the weeds very often. I know I'm a lazy gardener, people, so things are a little chaotic in my garden. And you know, when you're dealing with things like ADHD, sometimes you need to let your brain work on its own pace, and these things are still going to bloom and still be beautiful. So I'm very excited to see what they look like. Let's go see what they're going to look like. One of my friends, the lizards, they're always up in here. I love seeing them. They take care of insects for me. But then we come around to what the amaryllis will be, and is this not amazing? This is one of the flowers you saw in the intro. The display here is absolutely amazing. The red colors. Now there's a few pros and cons for these amaryllis out here. They're a hippeastrum. They are hippeastrum, I believe, is how it's pronounced. And they are these bold, tropical-looking flowers. Easy to grow. They really are, folks. They have these big bulbs down there. But they do have a short blooming window, and of course they get a bit leggy afterwards. They will end up spending the rest of the season with these big, broad green leaves. These things, the stalks here will eventually wither away and fall off, but while you have them, look at what they look like. This is a regular amaryllis, but look at over there, that big one. Let me show you that. There's another regular one right behind the bird bath that's getting ready to come out. But these things, the color on these is just amazing. Brilliant red. These are a giant amaryllis. They are amazing. We have another one we're going to see over at the asparagus patch. This is, of course, the back pollinator bed. And oh, I'm loving the look of these. It just gives us that beautiful splash of color in the garden that we're looking for this time of year. They just really add real interesting splashes of color into this pollinator bed that's not really doing too much, but I can see a whole bunch of them are coming out here soon. I do want to point out that we have our Thai plants down in here, and I did notice we have a Thai plant right over here, and I saw, looky here, underneath that we have some stalks coming up from this thing. We trimmed it back hard, of course. Well, that's actually not last year's, but the year before. You can see all the stems getting a little hollow. This is actually last year's trims, but it's already coming up. This will be kind of a purple plant, and there are 5 of them hidden across here. All of them are looking promising for this year. And of course, we'll be bringing more color in here into the pollinator beds as we go along and start adding new plants. And we have down here in the front that's the back pollinator bed back there. Down here in the front pollinator bed, we have, of course, our Egyptian walking onions. Now, this is not a flower, but it is just as exciting because the Egyptian walking onion, and I explain this all the time, some people don't understand it, but you see this little bulbous thing in here? There are bulbils coming out in there, some onion. Now, folks, this thing eats just like a green onion. You come out, clip a few leaves, and you stick it in your dinner, just like that. There's nothing special you have to do, but these bulbils will come out and get larger and larger and heavier, and it will weigh this thing down. This will touch the ground, and it will become another plant and another plant, and it will literally walk across a bed over time. This here is one of the original plants, and that right back over there, that is a plant that came along by walking. And of course, it's producing its own right now. So it is kind of a self-propagating thing, which, you know, with my ADHD, anything self-propagating is a welcome. Yeah. And so we come down to part of my experiment, and that is going to be this pink wood sorrel right down here. Now we're going to see another color of wood sorrel here in just a few minutes. It's kind of distinctive in that it looks sort of like a clover. Oh, there's a little snail eating on that thing, or a slug right there eating on it. Isn't that funny? Now folks, if you watch any of my videos, you know that I don't try to conquer nature in my garden. I try to live with it, try to work it, try to understand it, and I want to encourage everyone to be of the mind that, hey, there's a lot of good out here. Find out what is good and try to work with it. And this is a beautiful, just a tiny, delicate pink flower, and it's growing all over my property. I'm starting to get used to it and starting to learn how it works. Now this here, this is an ivy, and I am actually trying to get rid of this ivy because it is a little bit invasive and kind of hard to get rid of. Yes, I know, I just said we're working with nature. Well, sometimes we have to thin things out and get them in the right place. Currently, I don't have a right place for that ivy, so it's going to have to go from this beautiful little sorrel. And I have these little mounds of pink that grow all over the property. In fact, if I look up here, you can see there's one kind of tucked right in over there. There's another one right there. And there's another one coming out over here. And there's another one right up inside that onion right there. So I'm trying to get these things to grow. Now, I have been trying to propagate these a little more, and I'll break up a bunch, and you can see right behind the little red flag over there, there's a bunch that I just transplanted. So just like everything else, there's pros and cons for these things. They are edible. They have this cute clover-like leaves. They're low growing. Now, they do seed themselves everywhere. They're just seeding constantly. Now, they do have a mild toxicity in large quantities, but I do want to show you. I'm going to dig this one up because I don't want it right here next to my onions. And if I dig this up and flip it over, this thing actually has an interesting little tuber. Now, I don't think this is edible. I am going to be planting this elsewhere, but if you look carefully here, I can break this thing up into two. And okay, between you and me, folks, I am still learning on this one. But there are multiple little nodes in here, and you just stick this thing elsewhere. I believe this is what I've been doing and trying to get it to grow. I don't want it to grow here on this edge because this is getting into my lawn. What lawn I have? Okay, folks, I know I don't have a lawn like you might think. My lawn is just as chaotic as my pollinator bed. I know. But I do want this to kind of come out and sort of bulge up over here in the middle. And so I will just come in here, dig a little hole, and get this in the place where I want it. Oh, see now, that right there, those white roots, that's dollarweed roots, and we can pull those out to give it a little head start. But I'm just going to plant that in there and see if it takes. I am curious. So we also have up in here, we have some wandering Jew that is wandering, which I'm very excited about. I'd love to have this as a ground cover through here. We have back here Chinese ground orchid, I believe it is, and it actually did get one flower already. I think we saw that in the last garden tour. There's that other sorrel that's kind of laying down right there right now. I don't know if that's going to take or not. But here in the same pollinator bed, we have our yarrow, and we looked at how we had two plants here originally, and it's starting to come out with new plants back here, and I'm very excited about that. I love the yarrow. It's a beautiful flower. I've seen some good critters on these things that I like, some beneficial insects that we want, but just look how beautiful this flower is. And this is great for cutting. Look how long that stem is. You can put it with a long stem or you can put it with a short stem. Last year we actually trimmed a bunch of these and decorated about 20 tables at our church with just these in tall skinny vases and had beautiful table settings. It was amazing. Yeah, these are just very cool. They are medicinal. Did I mention that already? Also, one of our big plants in this area is our two Brugmansia. This is the Brugmansia sanguinea, which is a red bell, angel trumpet bell-shaped flower, and that one over there is Brugmansia solanaceae, which is a yellow bell-shaped angel trumpet flower. And those, of course, are not blooming right now because everything takes its turn and does its thing. So from the front and the back pollinator beds, oh, and they see the hedges. Look, the hedges are starting to grow out. But between these two pollinator beds, we have a lot of flowers. And if I pan over here to the right, and I was mentioning the lawn a few minutes ago, we're going to look at this lawn for just a minute. And I want to point out a couple of just very delicate little things amidst this mess. And of course, over here, the first thing that we have is the Spiderwort, Trandescantia. And this has a just delicate little purple flower on it. You can actually see it's just coming out here. And this has had some flowers on it already. And they are just the prettiest little thing. I'm going to see if I can put a picture of Mrs. Bowtie's flower here. It's very interesting. It closes up at night and opens back up in the day. And she doesn't have any sunlight on her desk, but it's just this beautiful three-petaled flower that is just amazing. Now, Spiderwort, it is considered a weed, folks. It is a pollinator magnet. Beautiful color, of course, and it is, in Florida, a native. If you live here in Florida, you know you've seen these things. Do you want to pull them out? Now, they do have a sticky sap. They do spread fast, but you know what? It will die back. A little messy, but it will die back. Do you have a love-hate relationship with Spiderwort? Tell me about how you handle Spiderwort in your garden. So while we're here in the front yard area, you can see my cans back there. Yes, I do have them cart off some weeds occasionally, but I want to show you something I don't know that I have ever noticed here before. And this is a common Ramping-Fumitory, Fumaria moralis. Now, it's a very beautiful little tiny flower. And you can see here, it's just this little delicate pink flower with these little delicate leaves. It's a low grower, and I'm not sure I have discovered this here before. And if I pull on it, you can see it's a nice ground cover. Now, it is, yeah, it does spread quickly, folks. That can be a little bit of a problem because it does reseed itself aggressively. It's considered a weed in most gardens, but have you ever thought about something like a weed as an ornamental? This thing can just literally cover the ground. Just amazing, but I have not sure I've ever really identified this before in my garden. And it's just the neatest little delicate ground cover, just a little lace on the ground, kind of. I'm not sure how to take this. Have you seen this before? Comment "Fumitory found" if you have in the comments below. Something new for me. I've never seen this. Now, I do, whenever I see these things here, I give them a pull. You can see they come out with a nice taproot. I like that. There's a bunch of them that come up in here. I have trees all over the property that drop these seeds, and they make these, if you catch them early, look at that. All these taproots just come up very easy. That's what you want to do with these things, just to get rid of them. Otherwise, this will actually grow into a big tree. Thus, one of those things back there. Eesh. Squirrels like burying them. Now, I'm sure I'm mutilating these names. The common Ramping-Fumitory, which is right here just at the bottom, is right on the edge of my big arch trellis that's going to be hosting the loofah this year. And we come across here, oh, look there, there's a chocolate mint. I was having something digging up my seeds, and I moved this pot over here, and I hadn't had any digging since. But what is with this bowl? This is where, you guessed it, this is where I am trying to plant my loofah this year, and look what I discovered literally today. That right there, folks, is going to be the beginning of this year's loofah drama. Woohoo! There we go, folks. It's going to happen again. And so we will be planting our loofah in here. I keep this thing covered so that nothing can dig it up. It actually acts like a little greenhouse under there. There might be another, I planted more than one seed just to be redundant. I've already seen one has been eaten, which is why I put this bowl here. It'll still allow the sun, it'll keep the moisture in there, and it will allow them to grow. As soon as they start coming up, I will be removing that bowl and we will be moving on. But there's a little airspace in here. Hopefully nothing can eat those tender little seeds before I get my stuff out of it. Everybody wants loofah. Comment below if you're growing loofah this year too. If you saw my drama last year, you know to be careful. Chad, I'm talking to you, brother. All right, there's another rosemary over here. Of course, rosemary is great for mosquitoes, great for repelling mosquitoes. I am intending on having a lot more rosemary in the garden. You can see here it has got some other stuff growing in it, just right up inside of it, which really is surprising because I thought this was a bit more allelopathic. This is that pink wood sorrel that we just saw earlier. It's growing right in here, which just kind of, full disclosure, I think it kind of makes it beautiful on top of just this wonderful smell in here. Ooh, there's some insects in there. Oh, what is that? Okay, what is this spit-covered stuff? Tell me if you know. That's interesting. There's all these, makes me think of spit bugs, but I don't know. Do we have spit bugs here? Those are kind of nasty. I'm not gonna bother it though. It'll be fine. And of course from that rosemary right there, we come across our arch trellis to the dino kale. Now folks, I am still eating off of this, and I hear that once this thing starts to shoot, starts to bolt, starts to put out flowers, it loses its taste. I'm still eating off of this. Now, granted, I'm eating more from down here in the lower left corner. You can see there's a little shoot coming out of the base, but look at this thing. Look at this thing. This is going to be making seeds, and we're going to be able to plant some more kale for next year. I'm very excited about that. I think, is that already seeds coming up in there? I don't know. I don't know enough about these and how to do the seeds. If you know, tell me, because I got to know. I want to get some seeds for next year, figure out how to do this. But this is dino kale, lacinato kale. It has been just a wonderful thing for me. It grows for 2 years for me, and I get tons and tons of snacks. Those little tiny leaves on the new growth are delish, delish, delish. And of course, the regular members of the Bowtie bunch, you know that at this point somewhere in here I cover these trees. This is the American sycamore, and this thing is starting to shoot out its leaves. Now these leaves will be huge. This thing will be solid shade underneath here, and I'm very excited about that. However, one of the things that's happening here, folks, and I have to start keeping an eye out, is this thing is putting out these little suckers, and I have to come through here and pick them off. You can wait till they grow bigger, then you need the loppers, and then I'm afraid it's going to do more damage. But there's several down here that need to come off of here, and they need to stay in control, because I don't want this thing to become a 75-foot bush. So we kind of keep those things in check. I will keep that. Oh, there's one right there. See, look at there. There's a little tiny one right here. Pop that off of there, and we won't have a 75-foot bush. There's another one. Oh my goodness, this is more than last year. I can tell already. That's interesting. Of course, out in front we have our 2 crepe myrtle trees, which are just have exploded with their leaves. Just absolutely blew up, and just in a few weeks too. It was amazing. I was out here with somebody, looked up and saw it was just barely putting on its leaves, and it seems like a week later it looked like this. It's not quite filled all the way out. There won't be quite as many holes through that canopy when it is ready and done. Of course, we have over here our evergreen of some kind, and then we have our pendo date, which I can see up in the top. Oh my goodness. There is some ivy growing up there, and I need to get up there and get that in control. I do need to get up there and cut out some of the other sticks that you see in there as well. Kind of clean this thing up. This pendo date, it is an edible date, but it's not like the dates you're used to tasting. You can eat one, chew it up, stick another one in your mouth, chew it up, and you're gonna feel like you have a mouthful of dental floss. It's not very pleasant. So you make jellies and wines out of this. Oh, wines. There's an announcement coming out. Of course, our asparagus right here, and it is looking good and strong. We still have the same 5 little shoots in the base here that we had before. We have our, ooh, looky here, our strawberry is deciding that it is not liking the crowding down here, and so I will have to come in here and look at all these dollar weeds. I have to come in here very carefully and pull out the dollar weeds from around here, and then I can pull out this dichondra that's in here as well. Now the dichondra is not a terrible thing. It is a detoxifier in your food, but I don't want it that close to this strawberry, because this strawberry is going to start putting out runners real soon, and I have a strawberry patch to fill. So I'm going to be kind of taking care of this thing. We're cultivating it and making sure that we can get some runners off this to start our new bed. So yeah, I'll come in here with my ADD gardening, and I will just pull some of these things back and give it its little bit of space. Now these blue lids are here because I used them. I put my strawberries on them, keeps them good from the slugs, so we can have them. However, we have not had much out of this particular plant at all. Mainly at this point, I'm just looking to get runners out of it. I will be happy with some runners. Of course, some more of our beautiful Amaryllis. This is our regular Amaryllis. There's so many bulbs in here, I have got to break this up this year. There's several bulbs. One of them is actually getting pushed out of the ground. And then we come and look up a little bit and look at this beauty. Oh my goodness, these things are gorgeous. Now, we do have a timeline right here that you can see very clearly. This is the newest bloom over here, which looks beautiful. This is about the second newest. This one over here, you can see it's closing up, and this one here is the original bloom. So they kind of work their way through the blooms and show their colors and then die out. They don't last very long, people. They really don't, but it is that season's first splash of color that is so wonderful. Now from the Amaryllis, just down here to the left, we have our little yarrow patch. This is the patch that I mowed over. Inadvertently thought it was dead last year, but you can see there are yarrow plants everywhere here. You got one here, you got one here, one here. They're all over the place, these yarrow plants. This is the original one down here that I mowed over. I didn't think it was going to make it, but here it is next year, and they're coming back. So I'm excited about this yarrow coming back up very soon. Now here right in front of the where we have the loofah seeds growing is one more little thing that I just thought was, I don't know, interesting. I don't know very much about this. This is a Clasping Venus looking glass, Triodanus perfoliata. And of course it's just these beautiful tiny little purple flowers. It's interesting leaf, and it's a native wildflower. Now these again are short-lived, and it does blend into other plants easily, so it gets overlooked. So, which is why I wanted to kind of bring this out just a little bit. And you can see these leaves are almost not even leaves, they're little tiny things, and then it comes up with these little wispy flowers in here that just, I don't know, it's just this beautiful little splash of color. Purple is one of Mrs. Bowtie colors that we want to try to bring into our garden. And so have you ever spotted this little gem? Go down to the comments and say Venus spotted in the comments if you had, and tell me where you're at. I'm very curious to find out where these things grow. It's just a beautiful little 5-leaf purple flower with these little tiny leaves. It's almost like if it were dry, I could tell it would even feel a little thorny down here. And so we work our way down here past the Pendo date and past our big arch trellis. We come back to another arch trellis. And folks, I have 25 of these cattle panels on our property, our little quarter-acre property. And this has two cattle panels here arched over in an 8-foot archway. But you know what these are? Oh yes, here they are, the grapes, people. And this is going to be its 3rd year. I actually went and did the research. Next month will be 3 years since we planted these grapes in the ground, and we've trimmed them a couple of times, and I'm very excited to see. If I come up here and look in this corner, you can see there's gonna be grapes this year, and I think we're gonna have a lot of grapes, which is a good thing because Mrs. Bowtie is trying to learn how to make wine. And if you haven't followed Edge of Nowhere Farms, Lori and Dwayne over there, they talk a lot about winemaking, amongst a lot of other really fascinating stuff growing in the Arizona desert. They have got a bunch of fruit trees, and they teach you how to grow in the desert, folks. It is truly the edge of nowhere, and it is a channel worth watching, especially if you have those kind of conditions. But they do a lot of winemaking, and we are looking forward to using a winemaking kit that we're getting here pretty soon to learn how to do that ourselves. Not that we drink much wine, but I do know Mrs. Bowtie wants a blackberry sangria for this summer. So these things are just starting to look beautiful and promising, and they're starting to put out new branches. In fact, you can see right here, there's a new little branch coming. That's going to be a big old branch come the end of the summer. A lot of new little branches coming out. Go back and look at the video on how we trim this. There's actually 2 videos, one from this year and one from last year at the beginning of each of the years. And I'm learning how to do these things, how to raise grapes. Now, in full disclosure, I will tell you, this is not the best way to do it. Those people that put their grapes on those wires that stretch out from post to post, that's the way this should be done. But I just have a thing about this arch trellis and having a room in here. It just is so neat to come in here, sit down in the cool weather in the summer, and be able to just have a beautiful little place to be. It's wonderful. We do come over here to the very last of the flowers that I wanted to talk about. Now, this is a Mexican lantana. Of course, they do have long blooms. These flowers will stay on here all season. And I just think this is an amazingly beautiful flower right down in here. Just amazing. It does attract butterflies, and it is drought tolerant. Now, this is a Mexican lantana, and it is invasive. Not always native, folks. I don't know, is this thing native to Florida? I really don't believe it is, but it is a really woody. You can see the stems here are very woody. It's kind of stiff this year. It's going on its second year in here, but I do like lantana, and I want to see how big this thing will grow. It says it'll grow up to 3-4 feet tall. We'll have to see. I actually have been pulling seeds from these and spreading them around the yard. I do have a friend has a yellow lantana of some kind that I want to try to propagate over here with cuttings. We will see if that happens. Already trying some cuttings this year. And of course, past the grape arbor, we have these 8 pots. Tell me if you know what these 8 pots are. Nothing has showed up yet. I am waiting, but I'm not really looking for anything to appear, maybe for a few more weeks. What are these mystery pots? Do you remember seeing that video? Or maybe it's not even out yet. I don't know. I hope it's out. But I'm very excited to see what comes of these. They are sitting here, just totally empty looking pots. They're not empty. And those of you who know what's underneath this tarp, you know what you're supposed to do right now. Let me know. You were there when that happened. There's a little mint over there. I've been calling this a mountain mint. I know it's not. I think it's probably a spearmint. I'm just not really sure because it was growing wild at our place in Arkansas. Before we moved, I brought some with me. We have a whole bunch of weeds and ivy still growing up in there. I did clear out a lot of, here we are, the blueberry patch. And this is exciting. The flowers are starting to fade here, which seems a little early to me, but there still are flowers coming through here. And you can see just these beautiful little flowers. The bees are still all over what's left. And of course, you can see we have blueberries starting to form. It's exciting. I don't know that we're going to have as much as last year or the year before because I did prune a lot of stuff out of here, but whew, I'm seeing some ivy down there. I need to get cleaned up. But I'm hopeful that we can get a significant harvest from this, and we will see what we can get out of this. Mrs. Bowtie and I are about to try to make some blueberry jelly. That's kind of exciting. And so we come down to the end here, and folks, not all weeds are enemies. Of course, not all pretty things are friends either. I just want to encourage you to take the time and learn what's growing in your garden before you just start yanking out stuff, because sometimes there are some neat stuff. Sometimes there's something edible like Florida Betany, which you can add to your salad. Sometimes there's things that are medicinal like that dichondra that we saw briefly. It's actually a detoxifier for the system. And there's a lot of things that we can learn about what's going in the garden. I frequently like to say, I don't want to conquer nature, I want to learn about it, I want to work with it. I want to take advantage of what's around me. So that leads to, of course, 3 little reminders. Let those early bloomers feed the pollinators. They are waking up right now, and it's so important for them to get that food, to get started and get going for the year. Help them survive. Give them a strong head start. Second, be sure to not panic when you see things. Go figure out what it is. One of the things that I love is this PlantNet app. And you can actually download it for free, and you can take a picture and it'll tell you most likely what it is. Have a little fun with the PlantNet app and learn what's in your garden. And then of course, the last thing is some of those invasives can be managed with the right kind of strategy. Remember those big pots that are buried up in the front up there? That's the kind of thing that you can use to actually have another harvest. That Florida Betany, if I wanted to cultivate that, that would be the way to do it, to keep it contained in one place so it doesn't get out and invade a lot more of the property. gonna have to do something with that eventually, right? So thanks for walking through the garden with me today. It's really exciting to see the new growth, and especially the flowers just everywhere. Our yard, quote yard, it has all kinds of little tiny flowers on it everywhere, and it's just the neatest thing. I don't know what all is there. There's pollinators crawling through there, there's lizards feeding on the insects, and it is just thriving into this beautiful network of nature, and a healthy network to help grow things better. And I encourage you to take the time, look at your garden, and figure out what is growing and what's good, and maybe what's not perfectly good, but it might be good to have for the pollinators. We don't just want to kill everything in the garden. We want to help the whole garden thrive as a whole system. And I encourage you to figure out what that means for your property. It means something totally different from my property, almost guarantee. So if you learned anything from this video, if you thought it was informational, educational, inspirational, or maybe you just thought it was entertaining watching me mess around in the garden, please click the thumbs up and share this video with a friend. We are growing Bowtie Life, so be sure to subscribe for more videos coming out, and be sure to share your questions or your experiences in the comments of this video. I love hearing from y'all. I learned so much from y'all talking to me, and I do appreciate that participation. Become a part of the Bowtie Bunch, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss out on any of the other garden tours. This is, as I said earlier, my own personal journal of everything going on in the garden, and you're welcome to come along for the journey. We do these things in 3 parts. In fact, you see through there, we got a lot more gardens to go through this month, and there's 2 more parts to these monthly garden tours. And incidentally, this begins the 4th year in a row that I've been doing these garden tours every single month. I almost every month have done a 3-part, a couple of them have been a 1-part and a 2-part, but at the beginning, because I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But yeah, 3 parts of these garden tours, hopefully 3 parts of inspiration, 3 parts of things you can learn every month that I love sharing with you and love having y'all around. If you feel like I missed anything and you would like to see something else in the garden or a little more information, please comment. Tell me what you're looking for. All these things that you can do are free. Also, you'll notice that we have Amazon links to a lot of the products that we use in the descriptions now. We are working on becoming an Amazon associate, and once we do that, we'll have one of our first revenue streams coming into Bowtie Life, which means we can start supporting the things going on in the garden. As of right now, I'm spending my own money on everything out here. You can help by clicking on and using the Amazon links. You don't even have to buy the product that's there. If you click on that link, anything you buy at Amazon for the next 24 hours, I believe it is, will be credited to our Amazon associate account, and it helps grow the channel. Your price doesn't change. We just get a little bit of that money, and you are showing support for Bowtie Life. And all of those of you who have done that, I do appreciate it so much. Stay tuned for the next part, and y'all have a blessed day.